So yay, the future. And it's really cool with Unity because, you know, we can create AR and VR apps too pretty easy. So that's nice stuff. So we got our Zoom session going here. There's my screen, that's what I was looking for. So let's look at our modules really quick in Canvas, since I wasn't here last time and we didn't get a chance to do that. You probably noticed that what we're going to be doing is pretty project-based. So since we only have class once a week, we're hybrid. That means that there's going to be times that you'll have to spend outside of class keeping up, because we have a lot more material than just 2.5 hours a week worth of stuff, right? And you guys want to learn more than that, I know. Usually this class, that's not a problem. So what we do here in class, we'll try to focus on learning new things, really focusing on some important concepts that we're being introduced to. And then every few weeks, instead of a unit exam, like any sort of test, we'll have presentations where we'll present our games to each other and get an opportunity to really explore what other people did and see what's going on. So the past few semesters, that's been a really great way to learn, because some people will come in and they've worked hard on their game and they'll be able to show it, and it's awesome, and everybody gets to learn from them and how, you know, how they implemented this one cool feature. Last semester, one guy was really into the graphics stuff, and so he found, I don't know, he had like an AR headset, and he downloaded that software where you can do creating images just in front of you using the headset, and then he was able to import those to his phone to some software that generated it as a 3D model. And anyways, he did some really great things. They looked awesome. So he was able to show everybody else that stuff. Other times, you'll have an opportunity to show your game, and you'll say, well, here it is, but it doesn't work because I have this terrible problem and I've been fighting with it and I don't know what to do. And that's just as good. Well, unless you were lame and didn't really try. But if you've been really trying, that is so good, because everybody then gets an opportunity to try to help you figure out what's wrong with it. And so there were a few times that we were able to just help each other get games working that hadn't been working. So our presentations are that way. You're not expected to be perfectly successful. You're presenting your progress so far. Was it good or bad or whatever? Just let everybody else share in it so we can all learn and see what happened. So for our first week, I wanted you guys to kind of get to know each other last time. You did. And take your syllabus quiz. Now, there's a few people that haven't gotten that done. Don't forget. And I need to change our due dates. So for the syllabus quiz, it really should be due tonight because we only meet on Friday. So anytime you run across a due date that I haven't gotten updated to a Friday, let me know and we'll fix it. So make sure you get that one done, because we don't have a lot of grades in here other than those big projects. So it's nice to get, you know, 100% on these easy things, the side things. So we're here in week 2 already. And week 1, I said, take a look at chapter 16 and 17 in your textbook. Well, that sounds like a whole lot, but it's really not a lot. It's looking at Unity and getting started with Unity, and hopefully we'll be able to do that today. Then the next thing in week 1's link, oh, yes, sir?
The syllabus quiz has been locked since CIS220.
Oh, well, shoot. No wonder you can't take it. Let me fix it. We'll get it all fixed and get it all taken care of, because some of these things have slid by. Now, the blue one, this link here, is to the Unity website. And so these tutorials that are linked here to this link, the beginning tutorials, are from Unity about different parts of the Unity IDE environment, different tools that you want to learn about right off the bat. So these things are really helpful for you to go through. And they're going to help you just take a leaping start so that you know some of the background on Unity and how to use some of the tools, because it's really got a lot of great tools. So week 2, where we are really getting started, the textbook sections that we're looking at here are C# language chapters. So chapter 18 is introducing C#. Some people have had C#1 and C#2. So they know all this stuff, right? It's not going to be a big deal to them at all. Some people are just in C# right now, so that's pretty challenging for them. But it's a really good introduction. The textbook actually does a great job at explaining C# to you, and I think that sometimes it does a little bit better than some of the other textbooks that I've seen. So do take a look at that chapter. And then chapter 19, Hello World, Your First Program, is what we'll try to do today together to get all done. Now there's some videos out on YouTube. Here's the video playlist that I have for installing Unity, which is probably out of date, right? As soon as I created it, it's out of date. And the video on creating the Hello World app. So if you want to do it slowly, you can. Yes, sir?
The video you gave us last week that we tried to watch, there was a problem with the sound. There wasn't sound in all of it.
Right, and so sometimes you just have to deal with that and go on through. I don't have an awesome recording studio at home, and I have OBS software that I use, and sometimes it just really fails on my audio, and so I keep trying different pieces of software, but those videos are already made. So for right now, they're what's out there. You'll have a new one today because we'll be creating one with Zoom, and hopefully its audio will be good, but I always say, sorry if it's not. My voice, this is an important thing for us in game programming too. Whenever we're talking about audio, right, people in their audio interests, we can have audio engineers that spend their whole day, every day working with audio. We might have one, we could be doing that someday. So that's really cool. And you know there's a big push, right, or a lot of people talk about anyways, we should go back to analog audio for music, because digital is just too choppy. Well, whenever the sampling occurs for audio and that digital sampling is happening and it's being converted to digital, my voice does not get caught. It just sucks. And I don't know why. It's something about the amplitude of my voice, but the capture software, the sampling software does not do a good job at capturing it. And that's just what I've got to deal with. So I keep trying, turn it up. I apologize so much, turn on closed captioning, and it'll probably say I said all sorts of terrible things. We'll see. Now there is an info thing here, the Unity life cycle we'll be taking a look at. And again, some more videos, the Apple Picker set, and I think those ones are better audio because I was in a different place with a different computer that didn't seem to have the problem that I have right now. So we have a lot of people with a lot of different experience levels. What we're going to do for this very first project then is split people up a little bit. So we're going to take our Career Center people, and for our very first project, we're going to ask them to become experts in some aspect of Unity to show the rest of us, right? While they're getting a chance to get used to programming and get used to Visual Studio and all these other things that they have to worry about. And then our OTC students, our secondary students, are going to create a game for us all to review this first time. So I'd like our secondary students to tell me if they feel comfortable with that. Let's use the Zoom thing. Let's poll it. I haven't done this before. You might have to help me. Here's a poll. No, don't answer that. I should have done this first. Let me edit the question. Do you want to create an entire game? Now, this game that you create for this very first presentation, we're going to create an apple picker game together in class that is in your book. There's some step-by-step stuff. We'll work on that together. So for this very first game assignment, I usually encourage students to use that apple picker game as a base and just change it a little bit. It's I don't know what you'd call it. It's like the tree goes side to side, dropping apples, and you have a basket that you're trying to catch the apples in. So it's just a single screen. It's not a side scroller, but it is a little 3D thing. So I encourage you to just copy that game and kind of modify it, change it to where, I don't know, geese are dropping from the sky, or however you want to change it, and you're catching them. So that game is going to be totally doable. It's not going to be something where you're going to have to go out and take a trig class or something to know how to do physics trajectories to create this first game. So you will be able to create it. Do you want to create an entire game? Let me put this poll question and see if I can make it work. I don't know. Hang on. It's like I can see it. Say. But it won't let me do it, you guys. Okay, you have to do it the old way. Do you want to create your own game for your center students? Raise your hand. Can you see it? You see it? We'll work on it later. What these guys in the back, they want to do some other stuff. That's good. Okay, the rest of you want to. So what we're going to say is, our guys right here, I'm going to point these guys out. These guys are in the, they're really nice. They're in the 120 class right now. Okay, so they haven't done any programming at all. So they're going to need you guys to support and all of that kind of stuff. And we've got you, don't worry, it's going to be okay. So we want you to explore the terrain editor tool, and you tell us about it, okay? And you can make a terrain, make a terrain piece, but like it's like making your own world. So in your terrain, you can have trees and lakes and whatever you want. So that's what they're going to do. The rest of you then are going to create your own game with this project, so we won't have any changes. Do let me know offline if you're not comfortable with that, and it is not a problem. So we're going to create a game. Let's do it. Right now, you should have, yes, sir?
Is this important? It says that our, well, at this point, community is out of date, but I can't update it with administrative password.
Right, just ignore those updates. We're not going to be able to get it updated. So whatever they install for us, we get stuck with. They won't do anything. So let me get to where you are. And that's a really good point, too, that you might have to get just a little bit different version at home than the newest one if you want it to match exactly. So our version here at school is this 2018.2.17. or F1. So that would be the exact version if you want to download that from home. Now, is this where you're sitting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is our new project screen. If we click on Learn, the Learn tab, they have links to a lot of those same tutorial videos that I have linked to you in Canvas. So some things that you want to try. They also have some projects. Some people will use these projects as their game that they turn in, modify it a bit. You know, there's not a bunch of them, so they're pretty recognizable. And then they have other resources, some more samples, and some other links that you might want to look through and see some great tools. But we want to look back at our projects tab, but remember that's available. Now, on the sidebar over here, they're asking you, do you want to save this project or open this project from disk or the cloud? Now, if you click in the cloud, you'll see that they want us to be using some Unity cloud-based storage, and it's expensive and they don't have a free option. So we won't be doing that. So we'll be saving our projects on disk. So now, do you want to save them on a flash drive, an external, something? They're going to be big. So, you know, be aware, they can get pretty large. Depends on how much graphics and stuff you have, of course, but they can get pretty large. Let's look at some of the ones that I have saved.
It's always great to have access to your student folder.
Let's look at our Hello World. It's really small. How about Apple Picker? Our very first project. Let's see how big that folder is. And it's only 20 meg. So it's just as you really start adding a lot of terrain features and graphics and things like that. So we'll be fine at first, no big deal. So decide where you want to save your projects. When you're working with Unity, you're creating a project file that is really a container. And in this container, you're going to have several folders and files within all of those folders for all of your assets, all of your different scenes, all of your different source code. So it can, like I say, get pretty big. There's definitely a lot of stuff. So you decide where you want to save your projects and then click on New to get started. Now, when you create a new Unity project, it's going to automatically import a lot of features for you, a lot of different packages. So they don't like to just import every single asset package, or every project would be so huge we would never get anywhere. But you can actually add asset packages to your project here. So we're not going to do that right now, but if you see some sort of instruction that says that you need this extra asset, this is how you do that in this version of Unity, that you can add that asset. But we can give our project a name. So let's create our very first project, and let's go ahead and call it Hello World. And then we're going to have a starting template. We usually want to start with a 3D template, but again, if you're going through some sort of tutorial or something, you might want to try something else. Oops, I did not mean to switch it. And then your location. Now the 3 dots, our ellipsis here, will let you browse to pick your location. I'm going to create a folder in the folder I want to keep this project in. And this is really important because whenever we create our Unity project, our container, we're going to be allocating all of its resources at first. We're not going to be able to go back and do save as, oh, I want to move this over to this other place without messing up a lot of linkage. So we want to make sure that we have a folder specially allocated for this. I'm going to make mine be Hello World V2 because if you notice, I already have a Hello World folder. And then down here, I don't have an open button. I have a select folder button because it's like, what folder do you want me to create this project in? I want you to use this Hello World V2 folder. So I'm going to click select folder. Now that's where my project is going to be created. So I'm all ready. What about organization here? That's new. I'll just leave it. Is that I think that has to do with some source code control. So I'll click create project. Now you're going to see that it can take a second, and depending on the speed of your computer and all of your resources at home, it can take a little bit longer than a second, so whatever you have. Now when we get into our project with Unity, we'll see that there's so many different features and so many different capabilities that we could be working on the graphics end for a really long time, or we can work on our source code. With our source code, we're going to be using C#. And we're going to try to use Visual Studio to edit it. Yes, sir?
When I tried to create my project, it says that the path was invalid.
So where did you say it stays?
In my documents and Unity and Hello World.
So what's the folder you want to use? You got a backup one? You click on it. There you go. So see how it's super picky that it wants
Those things.
I think it's because it's a network drive. I don't think it allows you to use a network drive.
The way you use the H drive?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do.
So let's go back to early on H drive. Choose your H drive down here.
There we go. Thank you.
Sure. It shouldn't give us any trouble once we've got it created. So it was not letting him create on the H drive if he clicked on documents, because it was putting in the //UNC path to that network share. But if he went to the computer, you know, my computer, and clicked on his H drive and it used the path that way, then it was okay. So here's Unity. We have a lot of stuff on the screen. You guys should be able to see it both on your screen and on the Zoom session. Over here in this area, we have a lot of services. You know, it's free, but they got to have a way to make their money and a way for you to make money if you're using Unity. So a lot of stuff over here we'll look at later. What we want to see is our important stuff. Up at the top is our project name. Do you see it? Hello world. It's in there somewhere. There's a lot of text. And then underneath that is our main menu bar, and then our main toolbar. This area over here, I'm seeing a lot of glare there. Our hierarchy screen is going to show us everything that's in our current scene being used, basically. This is our game area where we're building all of our game scene, our scene editor, making everything graphical, and the area where our game will play. Down here at the bottom, I have the project screen, which is going to show us all of the things in our project. And the console, if you notice, there's a tab there. So the console screen is where I might see error messages or output or anything like that. Everybody's displaying these things. You guys seeing it? Did it open for you okay? It's your demo tool where you can look at. It's actually directing what angle you're looking at. So it kind of reorients the scene depending on what you're looking at there. You guys got it. You're going. Okay. So we've got our main scene here. We got a light sitting up there in the middle of our scene and a camera. But other than that, we don't have very much going on. Now, in the services window over here, notice it also has a tab. So I want to go to the inspector. Come on, inspector window. And this is where I'm going to be seeing a lot of the things that I do to develop my Unity game in the inspector window. So all of these things are built to help us use Unity to set things up the way we want them and to get everything built properly. In our textbook, let me sign into the online version of it and show you. What is it? Is there a ghost back there?
This is still loading.
Is it? You mean to you?
Yeah.
We'll wait for you. Let me know if it takes forever. In our book, if you've had a chance to look, you'll see it's split into 3 sections. This first section, game design, that was CIS120, right? But now, I mean, you might want to read through this book because it's a really good book, and they have some really good suggestions about game design and some of the things that they mentioned they use later. Part 2 of the book, the digital prototyping, is the code type stuff. How to use C#. We're going to be looking at this chapter 19 here, Hello World, Your First Program, is kind of our basis for building this first little application. Now, the other chapters in this section, again, go back to coding, how to declare variables, how they relate to Unity components, Boolean operators, loops, things like this. Anthony, do you ever have C# too?
No, I had Java too.
That's what I was thinking. So, like, Anthony's had Java too, so he has a lot of programming experience, but he'll need to refer to these chapters a little more because he doesn't have that C# as much background. These guys had their C#. They won't have to
I
look at
did
it.
capstone.
Oh yeah, so you're all set. So these are more just resources for you. So depending on your background and experience, that's going to determine how much you need to look at those chapters, right? So we won't have to look at them too much in class because we have that variety of background. Now, part 3, the prototype examples, the first one, the apple picker, again, is what we'll be kind of gearing our stuff towards these first few weeks to get that game done and developed. And they give you a lot of other game walkthroughs. We'll just barely scratch the surface here in class because you guys will get so involved in doing other things, but there's lots of examples there in our book. So I'm going to be looking at that section there, our Hello World. Let me get to it, make sure I actually do kind of what they say. So we don't really talk a whole lot about Unity itself, but we want to because otherwise we won't know what to do. In this, they say that when you're creating a new project, you want to look at Appendix A, Standard Project Setup Procedure. So we did a little bit of what that standard project creation procedure is as we got started, because we created a folder for our project. Let's go look at File Explorer now and see what's all in that folder. In File Explorer, I'm going to go to the location where I saved my project. And I'm going to see. Now, I created this folder, Hello World V2. Look, as soon as I open it, I've got a Hello World folder. So we did create an extra folder structure, but we wanted to because that way we could make copies of this thing, you know, at certain points in time and different things like that. So this Hello World folder is my current project structure right now. So if I go into that folder, notice I have several others. I have an assets folder, library, packages, my project settings, and then I have a Visual Studio solution file that was automatically created in my project so that I can edit things with Visual Studio. Okay, so all that stuff was created automatically for you in that project folder. So if you wanted to copy your Hello World project, again, you would copy that entire folder. All right, so they say we need to go ahead and save a scene though. So in Unity, everything is scene oriented. So you could think of a scene as like a level in a game, or you might even think of it as an area. Let's see, like, I don't know, Legend of Zelda, you start out with that little area where you're going around and then you drop down into each location, and each location could be another scene, but you could organize your game however you want. It's very easy for us to move from scene to scene, but no matter what, a scene is how we organize our Unity project. So let's save our first scene. On our file menu, where's my mouse? My mouse has disappeared. I can see it moving, I just can't see it. So on your file menu, we want to save scene as or save scene. Sorry, I'm getting all distracted because I can't see my mouse pointer. I might have to restart our Zoom session. I think I want to do file save scene as, because I want this scene to be in a certain place in my scenes folder, and I want to give it a certain name. And in our textbook, they have some really specific suggestions of how they want these set up. I'll go to that Appendix A so that I can make sure that I'm doing things the way they recommend.
In the book, you they utilize proper naming convention stuff?
Well, they try to, but yeah, they're not.
I
They
know some of the books try, but they don't quite.
Yeah, they do pretty good. So what our author's recommendation is that we name our scene like this, underscore scene underscore 0. And he recommends that we put the underscore in the scene name so that they'll sort to the beginning of our project window. So let's name that. Try to redo my share to get my window back, but might not be able to use Zoom very much. If we can't, it's not going to allow me to use my mouse. Let me stop this Zoom session and see.